Now, the West Indies are entertaining when they actually get their batting right. They've managed the highest score at Headingley by some distance in this World Cup. They've managed 12 sixes, which could have been a lot more if Chris Gayle would have gone past the 11 that he needed to get a record for West Indies cricket. But it's still shy hope. Nicholas Pooran and Evan Lewis's half centuries that the West Indies have managed to bat around. A lovely quick fire 45 from Jason Holder and a feisty 39 from Shimron Hetmeyer that gives the Windies 311 for 6 on a day when the Afghanistan bowlers had to work pretty hard for their wickets. That's the score in this game, which is of little consequence in terms of the semi-final race for the ICC Cricket World Cup 2019. But there are still conversations to be had about individual players from either side. So we'll have that on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019. Daren Ganga will join us in just a minute. Before that, Daniel Vettori and Ajit Agarkar. Good runs that, Ajit?
Very good, I think. And just the way they constructed their innings, I think losing Chris Gayle early, it looked at one point that they were going a little bit slow. But we've seen that you perhaps don't need a big score against Afghanistan, whether you're batting first or Afghanistan don't score big anyway. So you needed some sort of total in the region of 260, 270. But once they were in, I think once they were set, I think you could see the firepower that the West Indies have. And all of them can hit the ball out of the ground at will. So really good, well-constructed innings.
And we thought there'd be a big role of spin, which is always the conversation when Afghanistan play. But 30 overs, just the 2 wickets and 160 runs between Mujib, Nabi and Rashid. The West Indies have done well.
I thought the key was the way they played Nabi. I thought Hetmeyer took him on. I know that he'd struggled to him, I think in the IPL against Nabi, and so Hetmeyer would have had a few nerves against him, but I thought he took him on, played some great shots, and once he got that confidence, he was able to keep going. I thought that partnership between Hetmeyer and Hope really set it up and a really good last 20 to 25 overs for the West Indies.
Daren, it almost is just the way that the West Indies bat in whatever format. You don't have one guy who makes a big 100. You have 3 or 4 guys that make 50s and 60s at a strike rate of 120, 130. And then Carlos Brathwaite comes up and hits 3 boundaries, and that's how it normally works. That's how the West Indies roll, I guess.
And you also hope for Lady Luck to be on your side. I think the distinctive thing about this innings by the West Indies was one of the openers getting over a half century, and even the number 3 scoring as well. That first partnership between Lewis and Hope, I would say, really sort of put things in perspective for the Wendy's batting. I don't think we've seen throughout this World Cup campaign an opener and a number 3 scoring a half century for the West Indies. So that was a really good sign. Unfortunate again for the West Indies and this batting lineup for no one to convert their starts. Many players getting starts and can't convert. You look back on their batting performance in this World Cup, I think about 13 half centuries scored by the West Indies, and they were only able to convert 2 into centuries. That's a century scored by Pooran and Carlos Brathwaite. So that's an area that they'll want to improve on when you come up against better teams. Players that go on to get starts must go all the way and score a big century. And the West Indies just didn't do that. But I think 311, they'll be very satisfied with that total set in the first half of this game.
A disappointing day again for Chris Gayle. We were hoping for one last World Cup swan song from the big left-hander, and just for 7, which continues to ail the West Indies opening woes. We showed you the numbers on the pre-show as well. And what's happening, Daren? Why is the West Indies opening slot jinxed?
I think it's Chris not finding the right tempo for his innings. At times we've seen him very sedate at the start of his innings, and then he tries to flick the switch on and go very attacking. This time around, he went for an attacking shot very early in his innings, but he's just not been able to get the right tempo, to get the consistency that you'd expect from a Chris Gayle. When he looks back at this campaign, only 2 half centuries in his efforts with the bat will be disappointing for him and for a lot of his fans, because they expect Chris Gayle, at least in 1 or 2 innings, to come very big. He wasn't able to get a century in this World Cup. And that will be a disappointing thing. I think it will also bring the debate about as to whether Chris Gayle should continue being a part of this West Indies side in white ball cricket. He's announced his willingness to continue playing in the upcoming India series in the Caribbean, which starts straight after the World Cup. Only time will tell, but Chris Gayle, he has not done himself a whole lot of good with his efforts at the World Cup.
I thought once Chris Gayle announces himself, that's the end of it. Doesn't he get selected on his own, Daren?
I don't think so. I think it's a case of the selectors deciding what's the way forward. We've
Yeah.
had a lot of interim committees in the World Cup with the taking over of the new president, Ricky Skerritt. So Floyd Reefer is the interim coach, and there's an interim selection panel which is chaired by Robert Samuels. I think after the World Cup, all those positions will be confirmed, and then you just might see more of a visioning coming from the persons who lead those respective positions.
It's a different time. A new era beckons for West Indies cricket with changes in the boardrooms. Alexis Nunes knows all about those changes. So does Jared Kimber. And they are expecting new things to happen or different things to happen for the West Indies. And they're all waiting patiently outside Headingley. So let's go to Alexis, who's standing with Jared. All yours, Alexis.
Patiently indeed, Rana, because if you will remember, Headingley is the ground where people love to walk in front of our camera. I've just had to stop too, so hopefully we can get this sorted before anybody walks there. One other thing though that has been disappointing, you guys have been touching on it, Chris Gayle, does he get selected considering he kind of took himself out of retirement? And the storyline today was, will Chris Gayle finally come up trumps, Jared? That's exactly what we wanted to see here today, and unfortunately, again, the word I'm using is disappointing.
Yeah, it was interesting too. He went out to a shot that's, not in his wheelhouse. It's not a shot that he plays very well. The ball was too wide. He didn't need to chase it. Look, he's been disappointing this tournament. He was obviously really good coming into the tournament though as well. So in some ways, I think he deserved his spot, but I don't see why they would continue to pick him going forward.
And then let's talk about the good side now of the West Indies innings, because we just heard the guys talking in studio. Ajit, I believe, mentioned it. The fact that finally it's nice to see how the West Indies actually went about constructing an innings. We saw 3 half-centuries and then we saw 2 others just getting near to half-centuries. Although Daren Ganga, ever the critic, even though I agree with him, it's unfortunate that we didn't see some of them go on and make it into a century. But still, pretty good stuff, especially from the young ones that finally got some runs to their name, right?
Definitely. I think Roddy Eswick talked about this. He's not just Rihanna's former PE teacher. He sometimes talks about cricket as well. He was talking about this in the press conference before the game, that they're using this game to look forward. And when you look forward, they've got a bunch of guys in their in their young 20s. Nicholas Pooran's barely played any cricket, and he's an incredible talent. Hetmeyer's coming through. Shai Hope. You've also got Jason Holder, O'Shane Thomas. And even outside the team, someone like John Campbell, who should be taking probably Gale's spot after this World Cup. They got Shafane Rutherford, Rodman Powell, Obed McCoy, Odean Smith, Rakeem Cornwall if he gets fit. So many incredible young players, to look forward to the next Champions Trophy in the next World Cup. And I think they start now, as Daren was talking about. Ricky Skerritt is a breath of fresh air. Let's be honest, the last, the way that cricket was run in the West Indies before was disgusting and terrible, and it should never happen again, I hope, in my lifetime. There's so much talent there. It's about getting that talent out, and I think we saw today how much talent they have. Nicholas Pooran's only played 3 first-class games, and look at how well he's played in this tournament. Imagine if he'd had a better cricket upbringing than that.
And it's nice to see the fight and the hunger that a lot of these youngsters do show, really and truly. Even though Shai Hope, who we have said, he's quite young, but Shai always calls himself the old man, because I know him, and he does act like a bit of an old man, but it's just that maturity and stuff. You mentioned Pooran, you mentioned Hetmeyer, you mentioned Shai. Which one of them impressed you the most today with their innings, you think?
I suppose today it's almost always Pooran for me. I think that he came into this tournament as a number 7. I spent some time with him last night chatting about it, and he was like, he didn't even understand how to bat at 4 and 5. Yet he's come in and he showed really good innings. He's matured as a player. But all 3 of them, I tell you this, especially Shai and Pooran, I've been at 5 or 6 of their net practices now. Those guys get there early, and they literally, the bus is leaving and Pooran's usually running off with his pad still on to get on the bus. And Shai Hope, you almost have to crowbar him out of the nets. They work so hard. And there's a lot of really bad and negative stereotypes about West Indian cricketers, that they don't take it that seriously and they don't try. I tell you what, those 3, from what I've seen in this tournament, completely the opposite. They are working so hard, and I think you're seeing the benefits of that out in the middle.
And I think everyone in the Caribbean will definitely remember some images of a certain Shivnai Chandapal. Daren Ganga will definitely talk about it, saying when the West Indies were playing a match, I can't remember which one it was, and everyone went for lunch break, and Chandapal was back in the nets just working his thing, because that man just loves playing cricket. Doesn't matter, nothing else really matters, and that's good to see the hunger from those guys. Now let's quickly, before we go back to studio, talk about the bowling and the fielding, because that's something that we have been comfortable with so far in the tournaments, is the batting that we finally wanted to show up. And last match, the fielding was just absolutely shocking, I would like to say, and the bowling not quite as much, but we do have Kemar Roach back in this one. So how do you see this West Indies attack going up against Afghanistan?
Yeah, I think that with Kemar especially, he can put so much pressure on a batsman. And I think you see with the the Afghans up to their 5th opening batsman. We might even see their 6th opening batsman today. They've used all 17 players in their squad. They've only got 2 guys averaging over 25. They've dropped both of them at certain times. Their batting's just not strong enough. So someone like Roach can really work on the batsman's weaknesses. So I think we might see that, and I'd be shocked if they can get past him and Jason Holder and Carlos. All 3 are just going to keep it there and thereabouts, and that's where I expect the wickets to come from.
So far everything's looking like a West Indies win?
No, Afghanistan will win easy, won't they?
Don't say that to me, Jared. Anyways, if you took what Jared just says, it's looking like a West Indies win. I'm getting my hopes up, guys, dangerously, but you know I like to live dangerously, so back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Alexis. Jared, before I let you off, though, I was reading your piece on Phil Simmons. I wonder if there's a joint party being planned today, farewell by Afghanistan, and maybe a re-induction or a welcome back by the West Indies, just doing it together?
Oh, I mean, look, I didn't see. I mean, obviously Phil was talking to some of the people in the West Indies camp, but he knows everyone. He knows everyone in world cricket at this stage as well. But look, I think it's a very interesting subplot that we basically have here. You know, with West Indies. I think that guy was coming on to me, but
He
we'll
gave
talk
us
about
bunny
that.
ears because apparently we didn't look cute enough. But carry on.
But essentially, I think, you know, that for West Indies to really move forward, it has to be Phil Simmons or Otis Gibson as coach. I think Phil Simmons is by far one of the best coaches in the world, and I think he should definitely come back and coach West Indies. But it would be hilarious, being that they just paid him a huge amount of money because they got rid of him a few years ago, and that money's only just gone through into his bank account of recent times, from what I can tell, to then rehire him. But realistically, at the moment, it's about West Indies' pride as much, from what I can tell from what Ricky Scarrett's been talking about. Phil Simmons is a great coach, and he's a perfect fit for this team, and I think he should definitely come back.
Yeah, I definitely echo exactly what Jared said. I think, of course, the last time Phil Simmons was there, it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, but the people definitely loved him. The players definitely loved him. Somebody that does know West Indies cricket through and through. I'm sure that Daren can attest to that. And like we have said, with all these youngsters and these encouraging performances, it's new times in West Indies cricket, so hopefully that does mean that we could see certain new names there.
All right, thanks very much, Alexis. Jared, I'm sure they can adjust that settlement fee as a signing bonus or a re-signing bonus. Now, Alexis, why don't you go have a polite word with that man who tried to introduce himself onto our live show. But anyway, let's just take our Hotstar top comment of the match for now, and it features Chris Gayle, who will have some serious discussions in the boardrooms of the West Indies selection team going forward. Goodbye, says Deepak from Bengaluru, to Chris Gayle from the World Cup. Massive entertainment, not so much impact. Played some great knocks, but largely failed to deliver in any of the 5 editions he was part of. Wow. Okay. Daren Ganga, how does West Indies cricket remember Chris Gayle, the World Cup star?
Well, I think subpar performances by a top player in white ball cricket and test cricket as well. If you look at his record, you would say he's right up there with the best that we've produced in terms of international cricket and batsmen in that top order. So he will go down as an iconic player for the West Indies across formats. I always believe that players, they should be given the opportunity to bow out on a good positive note. Whether or not he's had discussions with the chairman of selectors, Robert Samuels, in terms of his future, I'm not quite sure, but with him signaling his intentions to play in the upcoming India-West Indies series, I would think he would have had a conversation with the interim chairman of selectors, and we just might see him in white ball cricket. I know there's a test match slated for Jamaica in the 2 test series against India, so who knows, it might be a farewell series for Chris Gayle, and I think given what he's produced and what he's delivered, he deserves that sort of send-off if he is to retire from the game.
Okay, he has indeed signalled a willingness to even play Test cricket. Now I'm going to ask you two the tough questions. If you were the West Indies selectors, are you picking Chris Gayle in this team on merit? And even if you do, is there a case to pick him just for a farewell home series? Is that a good enough reason?
I think you're definitely picking him on merit, because you only have to look back to the series before the World Cup, and so if West Indies are playing again in the Caribbean, then you can rely on him. The smaller grounds, he knows the wickets so well. I still think he'll be a dominant force in the Caribbean, and he's sort of slated that he's going to retire eventually. So I have no problem picking him on merit because of his performance prior to the World Cup.
I look at it the other way. I think if you're going to move on, it's the right time. I know how great he's been for West Indies cricket and what he's achieved, but sometimes you don't want to say, you don't want to have a player just to give him a send-off. I think he's achieved what he could. If he doesn't fit on merit in your 15, whether it's form and fitness both, then he shouldn't be playing. I mean, nothing to do with age. If he was fit enough, we sometimes overlook the fact that he doesn't run enough singles. Okay, he might on his day make it up, but it just becomes tougher for the batsman at the other end as well. Those sorts of things also need to be looked at. So if he is going to be, his fitness levels are going to be good and his form is going to be good, then the age shouldn't matter. But at this point, it doesn't look that way. And then if you're going to, they have enough players who can replace him and who can get the necessary experience going forward. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be very surprised if they do retain him. But
amazing career, even if he doesn't. I mean, you think of Chris Gale and his persona, but then sometimes you forget what he's actually achieved on a cricket field. I mean, 2 triple.
Why don't I remind our viewers then of what he has achieved in ODI cricket, and we'll just have a look at some of Chris Gale's milestones. Nowhere to say that he's done. He says he wants to play the India series. Does he want to play beyond? But he's equal Brian Lara for now for the most number of ODIs played for the West Indies, 295. The most centuries for the West Indies in ODIs, 25, and 326. 6 is the second most in ODI cricket. Only the second West Indies player after Brian Lara to score over 10,000 runs in the 50-over one-day international format, and only the West Indies player to score a double century in ODIs. That was against Zimbabwe in the last World Cup in Canberra. Right, time for a short break from Chris Gale and from this game. We'll be back with more, looking ahead to the chase on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019. Stay with us.
Clive Lloyd's West Indies won 2 World Cups without losing a single game. Fans of Serena or Roger who've seen them sail through to trophies without dropping a single set, you must know that feeling. The next time a team was invincible through 2 World Cups was Ricky Ponting's Australia.
Right, looking forward to the Afghanistan chase now, and let's get final words from Daren Ganga, Dan Vettori and Ajit Agarkar. Their batting has been their weakness. Dan, Remacha, key I guess?
Depends if he opens. We've got to find out who's going to open first, then we can make some
Surely
predictions.
Gulbadin. He's bowled only 3 overs today and he's taken a non-catch and made a
That
bit of a fool of himself at the end.
I really like Ramachara. I think he's a good player. The only thing for him is he's got to be a bit more aggressive, and maybe the total in front of them will allow Afghanistan to break the shackles a bit. They can't just get through 10 overs. They've got to be on 70 or 80 after that 10 overs, take on the West Indies bowlers, and then really predict what that wicket's going to do, because if it slows up too much, they've just got to get on with it.
You expecting Gulbadin to open?
It could very well happen. He's only bowled 3 overs today, so no. I understand what Dan's saying, but I just hope they don't lose too many wickets early on. I think that'll just kill the game.
Right. Daren Ganga, final word from you. Should this be an easy and rather academic defense of this target for the West Indies?
From what we've seen from Afghanistan, yes, I think the West Indies should definitely go on to win this one. We've not seen a lot of the batsmen in this Afghanistan team go on to score big totals. Just one correction, I've been seeing Robert Samuels as the interim chairman of selected. It's actually Robert Haynes. But I think the West Indies should go on to finish this World Cup on a high and get a win against Afghanistan.
Yeah, I knew that, Daren. I was waiting for you to correct that yourself. Well done, Daren Ganga. We're going to get your thoughts at the end of the game. Let's hope there's some positive thoughts to have on West Indies cricket, because it's always more fun that way when things are clicking for the Windies. Many thanks to Daren Ganga, so too to Daniel Vettori and Ajit Agarkar. Get their thoughts at the end of this game. Let's see if Afghanistan can put in a big shift or a good shift in their last batting performance of this Cricket World Cup 2019. We'll be back at the end of the match for ESPNcricinfo Matchday.